Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. Tim, thank you so much for being here as always.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So I thought we'd do something a little different today, buddy. I thought what we could do is I want to take some of the things that are going on for some of the men in our community, read them out so everybody can hear it. And hopefully that guy who posted this can get some benefit. But I think the listeners themselves will also either A, see themselves in this situation or a situation like this guy's going through, or B, they can actually get something out of this. Does that work for you?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm just going to read it verbatim. I'm not going to correct people's spelling, grammar, what have you. Guys, I know a lot of you guys are sending us messages on your phones and on your desktops, and you're busy too. So no offense taken, but this one's short and sweet, and I really like where it goes. So this guy says, hey, my marriage is deteriorated with a breakdown in respect, communication, and understanding. So there is absolutely no love left. What would you say to that man, Tim?
Can you read that once more, please?
Yep, absolutely. Got multitasking, I'm sure. My
Never.
marriage has
No.
deteriorated with a breakdown
Yeah.
in respect, communication, and understanding. So there's no love left.
Wow. What would I say to that? There's just so many ways. A breakdown in love, respect, and communication.
There's a breakdown in respect, communication, and understanding.
I don't understand it. Okay, got it.
And there's no love left.
And there's no love left. So like I said, that's a broad one. I mean, I don't understand what the guy's issue is. Is he worried that it isn't fixable because he believes there's no love left? Which I would wonder whether or not the woman is still in the house if that's the situation. I'd want to know more about that because typically guys often feel as though the situation isn't savable or as though she is checked out, yet they're completely misreading the signs. Often there can be still arguments, which is definitely not checked out if there's arguments. They can still be in the same bed. There can still be various things going on. I'd be really interested to know a bit more about the disrespect as well. What's happening there for him to feel disrespected. Because again, that could go various places, and that could be a boundaries issue as well. Because maybe he's lost the leadership in the relationship, and she's losing respect for him because of that, or maybe he isn't honoring the promises to himself. That's one of the reasons why we give the guys the Alpha Rise and Shine routine, live as a king system, all the stuff that goes with that, because they start maintaining and honoring the promises to themselves. It creates mystery, intrigue, it draws the wife back in. But typically, yeah, if there's a lack of respect, it could be how she's treating him and he's allowing it, or how others are treating him and he's allowing it, or how he doesn't honor his word to her. Or, like I said, how he doesn't honor the word to himself either. And as for the breakdown in communication, well, yeah, I mean, at this stage, you're going to be so triggered. This is why we chose to position and develop the program in a way whereby you can fix your marriage without having to talk about it. Because what we've found over the years is typically that talking about it makes it worse. You cannot solve a problem at the same level of thinking that created it. Yet so many men try and do that. Either try and do it through therapy, marriage counseling, and oftentimes the guys tell us how they go in there, they feel as though they're just getting ganged up on and reminded constantly of all the things they've done in the past that they thought they'd apologize for, that they thought they'd overcome. So I don't need that. So talking about it made it worse. And typically the things you talk about are never the issue. They're often the symptoms of the issue, not the actual root issue, especially when there's a breakdown in communication. So again, that's why we give the men the hidden motives technique, right? So they can read through and understand the hidden motive of what the wife is really saying beneath the top layer of the complaint, so they can actually address the root of it and do it really easily and really well. As a result, the wife often feels heard and seen, and emotional safety comes back in, combined with the live as a king system where the men owner promises themselves and mystery and intrigue and all that fun stuff. So, my advice, I guess, would be to apply for the activation method as I say all this, because I'm just thinking about the entire situation and the broad spectrum of it, and then how it all ties in nicely to, I guess, what we do, right? The activation method. And look, if you're not going to join the activation method, then that's fine, but do something. Just don't settle for this situation, whatever the nuance of it is for you. You're better than that. I mean, come on. There's no doubt people in your life that need you, be it your kids, your staff, your family, whoever it may be. Like, don't sit on the sidelines, letting life pass you by. Like we said in the last one, waiting and hoping for it to change someday, because it's not who you are. If you're anything like the guys we work with, you love and crave freedom. That's partly why you're a business owner. So the last thing you want to do is feel trapped in a marriage where you are actually, you just love to make things happen. So just go and do it. Go and live that way and just do something, whether it's with us or with somebody else.
Yeah, no, it's well said. And this person did apply for the activation method, and I gotta say, I completely get it. Right. So when I read this, that's why I kind of lit up. This is exactly how I felt with my wife way back in the day when we were going through our problems. I felt like there was such a deterioration. Respect was a big, respect's a big thing for me. It is for most men. When I thought there was a breakdown in communication, which led to the breakdown in respect and understanding of each other. When you have that in any relationship, whether it be a friendship or a marriage, but especially an intimate relationship where you're feeling like you're not communicating, more often than not, you feel as if you're fighting and arguing, or as men, we just shut down, right? We internalize it. And, we talked about a podcast of just waiting, hoping it gets better. I did all that. So I completely get it because it's what society teaches us. It's not your fault going through this. And when you get into this situation, you feel like the love is dissipated, right? There is no more love. Now, my situation was a little different because I still knew that we loved each other, but I can understand where this guy's coming from. Like, there's no love left, right? There's just none. But I can tell him the nice thing about this, guys, or if you're in this situation, is there is hope on the other side of this. There's a lot of great hope on the other side of this. I'm a case in point, right? I am literally a testimonial for the hope on the other side. I have an amazing marriage, one that I'm very fond of, one that a lot of our friends look up to, but it wasn't always that way, right? It wasn't always like that. And I can tell you that from guys that if you're in a marriage where your wife isn't looking at you with that admiration, respect that she used to, like when you first got married, and you guys feel more cold and distant. And the way I always like to describe it, Tim, is it's like having a roommate with a ring, right? You have and it's not even a cool roommate, as I always say. I had a roommate in college. I'd come home, after class, he'd be sitting watching Sports Center. He'd toss me a beer. We'd sit down, we didn't have to say a lot. It was just, he was excited to see me, or just, it was respect right there. But of course, when my wife and I were going through our shit, I would come home and the nagging would either instantly start, or worse, she wouldn't say anything, right? It was that cold distance that comes through, and it doesn't have to be that way. And that's why, really what's happening here for most men, and I'm going to guess for this gentleman, is I was in good guy mode, right? I was being a nice guy, and I thought I could fix this, especially the respect and, admiration part, by doing more around the house. I'll do the dishes. I'll clean the oven. I'll take out the trash. And I'll do it all before she asks, and she's going to love it. And I distinctly remember one time, when I decided that I was going to be the best husband in the world, my wife was complaining about me not doing as much around the house, right? It was a common complaint. And I remember coming home from work early. I own my own company, coming home early, putting on a pot of coffee, like the large pot. I like Pete's coffee. So, I made it strong, real cowboy coffee where you can put a spoon and it stands up, because I knew I needed the energy, because I was about to make this house the cleanest house anybody ever seen. Cranked up the stereo and I was cleaning like a mofo. Like I was cleaning everything. I was so proud of myself. It wasn't a surface level clean, like I'm talking about, Tim. It was one of those cleans where you get the old toothbrush out and you're cleaning it. And I remember my wife coming home, and I had a bottle of wine open, 2 glasses. I was expecting to be put on a pedestal, to be honest. Like she was going to look at me and see me, how lucky she was to be married to me. And I remember distinctly her coming up and go, "Oh, you didn't do the stove." I was just like, "What?" I just lost it. I went right into deer mode, right? I started defending, excusing, explaining, and reacting. And that's what a lot of us guys do, especially in this situation. We react and we get so like, "I can't believe this is happening to me." We go into deer mode. And so that's why what I didn't know, and this guy's in the same situation, I can tell, and a lot of you guys listening to this, is we've become deactivated over time. And to
Mm-hmm.
Tim's point, the activation method is designed to bring you back using tools like the triad of connection, right? The hidden motives technique. So you can actually do this without communicating. The clean slate method. So you can wipe the slate clean and start over, right? Start from scratch. So you're not constantly chasing your tail like you do in marriage counseling, or it doesn't work with another audio book or doing a weekend program. It just doesn't happen. You need to have something that's going to allow you to be centered and then go from deer mode to wolf mode, or that's what we call, right? Wolf is an analogy for wise, open, loving, and fierce. And for this guy, I'm sure, because I'm looking at his application here, this guy's a killer in business. I can tell, right? Just by looking at what he's doing out there in the world, he's doing what he needs to do. And it's at home that the problem is. And this happens for so many of us guys. I mean, it certainly happened for me. And I just didn't have the tool set, Tim. I didn't have the tools that I needed to not get out of nice guy mode. And my wife was secretly, I didn't know this, was begging for me to go back and to get activated. She didn't know how to help me, right? I thought it was all her fault, of course. She didn't know how to help me become activated. But when I became activated, I was able to lead in such a manner that the love, admiration, and respect came back naturally. And it was effortless. Effortless. I put in work on myself. It was effortless in the relationship at that point, and it has been since. And it's not that my marriage is perfect. I mean, my wife and I still argue from time to time and what have you, but we get over it quickly, right? And arguments, instead of arguments turning into what they used to be, which is weeks of disconnect, they can turn into passion, right? Or she'll come and embrace, and she'll even apologize every once in a while, which is crazy, right? to have happen. And I say that tongue in cheek here, but when I'm looking at this guy's, application, and that could have been me, right? Number of years ago, 7 years ago or so, that could have been what I would have put down had something like the powerful man existed. Now it didn't exist. And every time we do an alpha reset, Tim, I laugh because, last alpha reset I was at, a guy cussed us out, you and I, for not starting the powerful man sooner, right? And I get that. You don't want to wait for something like this, because being where this guy is, being in a marriage, he loves his wife, or otherwise he wouldn't apply. But being in a marriage where there's a breakdown of respect, communication, understanding, and feel like there's no love, that's a hard place to be, man. That's the darkness, the pit. And the truth is, that's why this guy cussed us out, and he did it lovingly. Like basically, he's like, "Man, I wish I would have done this earlier," because he was able to save his marriage. And I hope this guy's able to too. And you listening to this, I want that for you. But you have to become activated. You have to lead from the front. And you can't wait for your wife to change, guys. I tried it. It doesn't work. Thousands of other men have tried this. And most of the men that stick to that philosophy end up single. I'll tell you that. It's just the truth. Or they end up unhappy. You need to do the work and be the leader. You need to put it in first, right? You need to take the action first. That's the key here. That's what I did. And that's what worked for me. So I'm eating my own cooking, right? I'm telling you what I did, and literally what I've seen thousands of other business owners do to pull back the reins on their marriage and get it back on track.
Yeah, you say it so well. I love it that you even get apologies these days.
Me, I always joke with my wife. So sometimes when she apologizes, this is not what you do, guys. Sometimes I make a fun of it. But yeah, we're at a place in our marriage where the respect is there, the love is there, the mutual respect and admiration.
Yeah.
Because before I wasn't respecting her either. I just
Hmm.
wasn't, I in hindsight being 2020, because when someone doesn't respect you, it's hard to have that outward love and admiration for the other person if you're not
Mm,
getting it. It's not reciprocated. And so
yeah.
that just creates a further pull, Tim. Like we're going further apart now, right? Because not only am I not feeling the love and reciprocation, I'm starting to push back on her and push her further away. And that happens for a lot of us guys for the R and dear. That was my biggest thing is the reaction, right? I would react, then defend, excuse, and explain.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think for a lot of the guys as well, there's lack of respect in the relationship. Oftentimes, they've lost respect for themselves as
Yeah.
well, and in definitely in some ways, and it can show up in different ways for the guys. And again, like you said, you never guess it with some of them because it can go into the boardroom
Oh,
and just
yeah.
be crushing it and leading things. But that's part of the issue because on one side, they're doing all of that, feeling great, feeling like um, they actually are able to make things happen. And they're walking through the door and they feel the complete opposite. And it's almost like they begin to pander and there's various, patterns that play out, but there's just no need for it. Just all it takes is a decision to decide and commit that you're going to change it, and you can begin the journey.
Yeah. And guys, it's not going to happen from a book. I mean, there's great books out there that describe the situation. I like No More Mr. Nice Guy. That described me to a T to some degree. But it's not going to get you out of there. It's just going to have you identify where you are. You need something
Mhm.
that's experiential. You need to get somebody that's going to say, hey, here are the tools and here's how you do it. And when you stumble while you're doing these new things that you're trying to learn, right? Here's how you get back on the bike. My kids are learning to ride a bike. My son's 5, he can ride one now. My daughter 2, of course, she thinks she's 5. She thinks she's 30. But anyway, she's trying to get on a bike, right? And by doing it, she's going to fall. She is going to fail. But if I just pick her up, I show her a few other things that she can do and she tries again, she's going to be successful at this. It's the same thing with doing the triadic connection, right? We've given you guys a lot of these tools, if not all of them, on this podcast over time, but you need somebody who's going to pick you up when you fall and show you what you're doing incorrectly. Right? These
Yeah.
are new things for you guys. They were new for me, right? And I practiced them for a long time. Now, literally, my wife and I can have a grievance, just like you guys are having with your wives, but we turn it into passion, right? We turn it into building. We feel like a team. I remember, Tim, when I'm reading this again on the side of the screen. If you're listening to me, you can't see my eyes moving side to side. But this was me. And I remember one of my biggest complaints was not feeling like we were a team, right? We weren't a team. And that was so important to me because, as you know, we were seen as a power couple. Like when we got married, everybody's like, oh man, these guys are a power couple. They own multiple businesses, philanthropy, et cetera, et cetera. And that all that facade kind of fell apart, right? And I didn't feel like we were a team working together, moving in the same direction. And at the time, I felt like I was doing everything, right? Of course, my wife felt the same thing, but we weren't talking so about that stuff. So for this guy and anybody that finds yourself in this situation, there is help on the other side. There is another side to this, and it is friggin' amazing. You have to take the leap, though. You have to jump. Like Tim said, doesn't have to be the powerful man, doesn't have to be the activation method, right? But do something. Do something to move yourself forward positively and do something now, right? Don't wait till
Mhm.
tomorrow. Don't wait till next year or whatever. Time is a limited resource. It's a scarce resource, as you know. I've been in this situation, so I understand the pit and that the way it feels to have this. You feel less than a man. And I'm telling you guys, you don't have to feel this way. It's not your fault. It's not your wife's fault, believe it or not. It's just society hasn't taught what it is to be a modern marriage. Times have changed. It's not the same way as it was for your parents. Times have changed, and you need the tools to guide you through this successfully. Tim, any final thoughts or words?
Yeah, do I'm just thinking the word that came to mind, just dust yourself off. Like you've got to stop making excuses. You just do. You just need to get off the fence. The issue for so many of the guys when they come to us, and I think this rings true for many areas of life, is they're just on the fence. be it in business, be it on the health, be it in the marriage, wherever. They spend their life living on the fence, never really either side of it, fully in, fully committed. It's like, just stop complaining, dust yourself off, take a risk, and just go and change it, or done. But the worst place to be is on the fence. It's the worst place. And I get it. It's scary. It's hard. It's tiring to get off the fence. I get all of it. Right. And just do something. Imperfect action. Get off the fence. Either side, just get off the fence.
Love it. Well, guys, thank you for joining us again. As Jim Rohn, I think it was, it said, you're the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Today, you spent time with Tim and I, and we don't take that lightly. So thank you so much. And as Tim said, get off the fence. It's time to take action. You know it is. And we're rooting for you guys, in your corner as always. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are 2 types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, WOLF is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here, so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated, because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.